border crossing. Javier knew this was his only chance. His hometown was no longer safe. Cartels controlled everything, and if you didn't work for them, you didn't survive. So he made the hardest decision of his life. He would cross the border, illegally, through the desert, at night, with no guarantee he'd make it out alive. Javier paid $6,000 to a man known only as El Coyote, a smuggler, a guide, but not a friend. Before they left, El Coyote gave them one warning: stay close, do not stop, and whatever you do, he looked at the group, his voice lowering. If you hear whistling in the desert, don't turn around. Javier exchanged nervous glances with the others. What did that mean? But no one asked, because when you cross the border, you don't ask questions, you just run. At 1:30 a.m., the group of 10 people set off into the desert. The night was cold, the air silent. They moved fast, their feet kicking up dust. Every sound, every rustle of the wind, every distant howl felt like a warning. Then after an hour of walking, they heard it, a low whistle, faint, somewhere behind them. Javier's stomach twisted. One of the women whispered, "Did you hear that?" El Coyote turned sharply. His face was pale. "Keep moving." They walked faster. The whistle came again, closer this time, like someone was following them. And then the first person vanished. Javier turned his head for only a second. Santiago, the man walking behind him, was gone. No sound, no struggle, just gone. Javier's heart pounded. "Santiago," he whispered. No answer. El Coyote grabbed him. "Did you turn around?" he hissed. Javier shook his head. El Coyote looked at the group, his face grave. "If you turn around, they take you." Javier's mouth went dry. "Who?" he asked. El Coyote didn't answer. Instead, he just walked faster. And so did everyone else, because now they knew. They weren't alone in the desert. The group moved in silence. The only sounds were their breathing and the crunch of dirt beneath their feet. The whistle came again. But this time, it wasn't one. It was many, all around them. The woman in front of Javier panicked. She turned her head, and in an instant, she was yanked into the darkness. Her scream never finished. Javier clenched his fists. What was happening? El Coyote cursed under his breath. "We're too slow. Run!" And they did. They ran for their lives. Javier's legs burned. His lungs felt like they would explode. The border was still miles away. And then he saw them. Dark figures. Not human, not animal. Just shadows running alongside them. Moving too fast. They weren't touching the ground. And when Javier dared to glance at one, its face had no eyes, just a mouth. It whistled at him. Javier screamed. They reached a dried-up riverbed. Bodies lay scattered in the sand. Skeletons, hundreds of them. People who had crossed before, people who never made it. Javier felt like he would collapse. Then El Coyote grabbed him. "You see now? This is why you don't turn around." Javier nodded and ran, faster than he ever had in his life. The fence was right there. The group could see the lights of the U.S. border station in the distance. They were so close. The whistling stopped. The air went silent. Javier didn't dare look back, but he could feel them, standing at the edge of the riverbed, watching, waiting, and then, one by one, they disappeared. Javier and only 3 others made it. 7 people were gone, vanished. El Coyote didn't stop at the fence. He simply nodded once and disappeared into the darkness. Javier never saw him again. But sometimes, at night, when the wind is just right, he still hears whistling, and he never, ever turns around. Thousands of people cross the border every year, risking their lives for a better future. Many make it, but some just vanish. Is it dehydration, cartels, or something else? Next time you hear whistling in the night, whatever you do, don't turn around.